One at the back, please come forward. Our panel discussion is on holistic and new lighting design concept for stage and special venue events. I would like to welcome the members of this panelist. It's an honor to welcome one of India's top lighting designer, who's also the moderator for the session, Mr. Viraf Pocha. Please come up. Everyone, please have a round of applause. Mr. Viraf Pocha is the director of Landmark Productions and is a chartered accountant who accidentally entered the world of stage management and lighting design. He has executed for English plays in Bombay for over 40 years now. He has been the lighting designer for many top fashion shows in the country like Lotus Makeup India, Fashion Week, etc. Thank you, Mr. Viraf, for joining us. I would like to welcome Mr. Rashish Parekh. Please join us, sir. Mr. Rashish Parekh is the founder and proprietor of Integrated Entertainment Solutions, a biomedical engineer by education. Rashish today helms IES, a distribution, trading, consulting and designing, installation and integration, sales and support company. IES is the sole distributor for top companies in pro light and sound domain in Indian subcontinent. I would also like to welcome Mr. Naveen Deshpande. Please join us, sir. Mr. Naveen is the founder and director for Ground Control, an innovative illumination agency. The company is helmed by his vast experience in lighting design and launching India's premier artist and event agency, Mixtape. The agency has worked on prestigious festivals such as Magnetic Fields, Bacardi, NH7 Weekender, the Dubai D3 Festival, etc. And I've also designed and executed rigs for some of the biggest touring acts, including Pentagram Divine, Nuclear, etc. Last but not the least, I have Mr. Srikanth. Please join us. He is being delayed a little bit. I would just like to introduce Mr. Srikanth. Mr. Srikanth is the director of Cameo Light Academy. He has traveled across more than 45 countries as a lighting designer for performing art and theatre festivals and designed stage lighting for more than 100 productions for renowned groups. Srikanth is presently the director of Cameo Light Academy, wherein he imparts training to budding lighting designers. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start the panel discussion for today. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. It's okay. Thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Okay, hi.
Check.
Good evening. Very nice to be here in this amazingly crowded facility and this amazingly popular exhibition that I've fortunately seen grow really from nothing to incredible things that it is today. And I was just talking to Mr. Chopra a little earlier, and he believes that it's going to get even bigger next year. Wow. Mr. Chopra, I need a motorized wheelchair. We've been in the industry for a very long time, a very long time. And somebody asked me a little while earlier, how long have you really been in the industry? I said, I don't really remember the year in which I started, but I do remember one incident when God came to me and asked me that, listen, I've done all these wonderful things. What do you think I should do next? And I said, what about some light so that we can see what is happening in this little black hole? And so here we are. I have on the panel with me some really experienced and wonderful people, and I'm going to hand it over to them first to just introduce themselves. There's Rashish Parekh. Rashish, a couple of words about yourself, apart from what this lovely lady has introduced you.
I think the lovely lady has already done a good job of what I am. As she's mentioned, founder and proprietor of IES. I'm passionate about lighting, and that's what's led me to the field. Over the years, we've collected a portfolio for sound and all accessories and what goes into it. And in the period that we started, it's almost 26 years now, and we've been a part of this journey, seeing all the technologies evolve. And I think we continue to pursue that. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Rashesh. Shrikant, can you tell us something about yourself that this lady has missed?
Thank you. Myself, I'm basically, I started with a little bit of theater, then switch over to lighting as a lighting designer for plays. Then after I understand, I'll just miss dance, creative dance, kind of shows. Then again, I jump to that area. Then finally, I reached here now as a educationist because I started one small school. It's called Cameo Light Academy at Trivandrum. We are teaching lighting, making new lighting bulbs because I think not that much studios or that much institution, not in India. I hope only the sound academies are a lot of. Then we started. Finally, we reached here. We have attended this expo. Only this much.
Right, Naveen?
Thank you. Definitely not as experienced as all these legends over here on the stage. Just about 5 to 6 years in the lighting world. It started off as a hobby for me, just filling in as a light designer for some of the artists I used to manage with my other agency called Mixtape. And then naturally it's become a business now. I run an agency called Ground Control, which is, as she rightfully mentioned, we do design and execution for a bunch of festivals in the country, a bunch of touring artists in the country.
Thanks. So you've heard them, and now I think on the screen, let's see some of the work that they have done, okay? So the conference today, we're talking about automated lighting. So I thought we'd start the conference by just showing everybody that these are the two books which I believe, according to me, are the Bibles. So if we want to start with automated lighting, these are the two books I would look at to give you a foundation to build on. That's one. I also have to say that Richard Cadena has been invited by ESA. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, he was pulled away, but I'm sure he'll be visiting the country soon. I don't think that, that's an opportunity that should not be missed. So that's one, and this is the other one. These are my two reference books, okay? And now let's step into the work of these three gentlemen on stage. Let's start with Shrikant. He talks about this being in the theater. How this happens in the theater, I don't know, but I'm sure Shrikant will have a wonderful way of putting it together. So that's one of his work, and that's another more traditional theater work. Shrikant, would you like to talk about any of these two projects that we've just seen? Sure, so Shrikant will talk to that later. Then we come to Rashesh. Rashesh started life as a sneaker engineer, if I remember correctly. He used to make sneakers, and then that's why he kicks ass. And he does some amazing work. So this is a projection on the Air India building. Again, the same Air India building, but from another perspective. That's him with just some of the screens that he works with. Rashesh, you want to? Okay, but that's on your project, right? So that's some of the screens that he works with. Would you like to talk about that project just a little bit?
Hello. Okay, I'm standing corrected here. This is not my project. But nonetheless, when we were talking about technology and the number of universes from the lighting perspective, we started with 256 channel boards called Q Commanders back in 1996, when that was all that you did need. And what is being showcased as a part of the presentation is the latest Eurovision song, or the latest Eurovision, where 6,144 lighting universes were used.
Wow.
The software that uses is what I represent in India called the Matrix from Germany.
And that's on display at your stall, am I right?
Matrix, yes, we do have a Matrix booth and the technology.
Okay,
there, yes.
awesome. That's another view of the same console. And then we go to Naveen, who I feel has got the most colorful presence on stage. And fortunately for him today, has access to the brightest lights that we've had a chance to work with. So this is some of his work. Naveen, if you'd like to talk about any other projects you're seeing, please jump in.
So I just like to take a step back. I know this topic talks about the future in lighting, but I'm a strong believer in aligning things correctly, and I feel a couple of things which have been missing in this country are like, just good paperwork for a designer to invest all his time into getting and achieving the right look. So the previous photo before this was a recent show with this artist called Divine, and the reason why I wanted to just mention this picture in this conference is because a lot of designers these days believe that more is better in terms of the inventory, but I kind of object that, and I reverse think that idea. The reason why this picture is here is also because all we used for this show was just about 16 odd moving heads and 8 BIs, So the whole point is a lot can be achieved with using lesser number of lights as well, and you can still achieve a very fresh sort of a design look through all your shows. The next one after this is fairly interesting for me personally because the client, which was OML and Breezer, Bacardi, wanted to move away from using a standard box truss idea. And at the same time, they wanted us to stick to their tagline, which was live life in color. So they were like, how can you help us achieve a design which is with less amount of truss and more sort of LED or light? So we came up with this quick idea of doing this slant truss using pixel tubes, also known as MI bars, and using MA's bitmap technology, we ran a lot of video content as well as text on these pixel tubes. So there was a lot of color play which we were able to achieve through running content on these pixel tubes, and we were still able to deliver to the brief which the client had given to us. Nothing great in this picture, but just use of some new fixtures which we've managed to use in the last couple of months. These are the moving LED tubes. This one is, again, we wanted to kind of enhance the idea of using MI bars, and one of the things which we did on this is, if you see the backdrop of the lights, there's a sort of an art which is driving the whole look of the stage, So the moment we were changing any colors onto these, the art was standing out better and better and was looking completely different on every sort of a cue. So this was fairly interesting. This is also one of the very interesting projects actually with Bacardi NH7 Weekender. Again, something what they wanted to do is avoid using roof truss or box truss, and they said, how can we achieve a open sort of a stage design? So the production team came up with this idea of using the scaffolding which is used for support for the LED wall. We kind of got some pipes out of them, and we managed to rig a lot of lights coming out of these pipes onto the structure.
Naveen, if I can just jump in here, this is something that I learned a long time ago, okay? Because sometimes when you're going forward so fast, and it's so incredible that you're at the end of your game, and the client asks you, okay, now what next? And then at times, the easiest and the best thing to do is actually go backwards, which is what you've done here, and the results show.
This one is with this artist called Pratik Kuhad. I kind of tour with them since the last 2 years. Now, the reason why this image is in the presentation is because with this artist, I've always believed that any sort of moving heads which I use for the show does not necessarily need to move. They can also act as a spotlight. They can also act as a profile light. So we successfully managed to get some really cool looks just from the virtue of him playing alone or even with the band. And the whole show is actually driven by a lot of spots sort of structure. Again, an interesting project. A lot of flex usage was avoided in this project, and I came up with this idea of using sun strips, which are one of the coolest lights in the market right now. Put that up as a backdrop light, and then, of course, fired it with some BIs to just get some fresh look out.
Yeah, the lights look like they're on Red Bull.
This is the similar project which I was mentioning about. We managed to convert a lot of text into the WebM format and use it through the bitmap technology. So we could align exact and symmetrical looking text as well onto the pixel tubes. We can skip this actually.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, this is again Pratik Kuhad. The other idea which I wanted to also do is, when you have challenges with regards to face lighting, sometimes you don't get the front FOH bar. One of the things I actually learned from traveling to a lot of European festivals is they do these truss pillars at the side, and it acts as a sort of a side lighting for lighting up the face. So
This is what he thought.
yeah.
So that takes the place of.
Yeah. Also, there are a few profile spots if you see on the floor. Again, the whole idea is something I wanted to keep a newer approach in terms of the way the design looks, and seems to be working so far. So yeah. Same show. This one was, again, one of the really interesting projects, and this is Dubai Expo, which just got wrapped up recently, and I'm sure a lot of lighting designers have traveled to do a show at this. The inventory had something really cool called Follow Me, which was a tracking device which acted as a follow spot. And we managed to use all the fixtures which were at the back as well as in the front to follow Lucky Ali. This is Lucky Ali basically playing at the Dubai Expo. So whenever he was moving around, the lights were automatically moving around. Of course, they had a different setup. There's one setup which comes with a sort of a device which the person needs to carry with him, and there's the other one which is the joystick one, which is what being used at the Expo. Same thing. This is, again, super recent. Sorry about the image, but this is Shreya Ghoshal at the Wembley Arena. And I wanted to touch upon this particular photo is because of the worksheets which I was referring to earlier. It was beautiful to receive a really clean and pre-decided addressing from the supplier based in the UK. Pre-visualization is something I strongly believe in. We managed to give a good 10 to 15 days to work on this full layout on a 3D sort of a thing. And then literally, I mean, they started rigging the whole lighting at 8 a.m. in the morning, and by 1 p.m. they did a handover to me. So at right 1:10 p.m. is when I loaded my USB and I loaded my show file, and everything seemed to work great. So again, going back is just pre-work and pre-sort of planning is absolutely important, and the reason why this image is why I wanted to give an example how everything works great if everything is pre-decided.
Okay, so these photographs are just to place some kind of reference into what is happening today, and that gives us the platform to take off onto what is going to happen tomorrow. So I'm going to start with Rashesh, and I'm going to ask Rashesh, as I'm going to ask Srikanth and Naveen in time, is what is cutting edge technology today, and what do you think cutting edge technology will be tomorrow?
Thank you, Viraf. We can all contemplate and look into the future, and we are our own versions, each of us. Coming from me, the ability to drive the number of lights, especially when it comes to LEDs, the game has really changed over there because, like I said, going from 256 channels to 6,144 universes, that's a big jump. You're looking at all sorts of possibilities with that kind of capability of computing, because that kind of computing power was never there before, and it's getting stronger and stronger. Add AI to it in terms of, say, consoles, where intuitive learning is there. It knows the user, and it keeps on getting better and better. What Naveen emphasized on is the paperwork and the planning. It gets even more easier with deep learning, and you have truly what is, we do call them intelligent lights, but for them to truly be intelligent, the AI component, I think, will come into play. We already, current technology-wise, there are systems, for example, from Everlights, where they have got Synergy. And Synergy allows you to now have a convergence of your videos, your pixel mapping, as well as your lighting, whether it's conventional or intelligent. Now that is today, and it's just getting better and better as we go along.
Srikanth, you want to take off from that?
Yeah, I think I can tell something about this. I made myself one PPT. Is not. I don't want to play the full, but I can tell something from here.
Why Srikanth is setting himself up? Srikanth, are you ready?
Yeah, I need some time.
Yeah, so while you're setting up, Naveen, you'd like to say
I can
something?
start.
Sure. What's today, and I know this has been existing in the market for a while, is the RDM technology, which is the remote device management. Device management allows you to change critical fixtures even if you're far away from it. And a lot of times when you're using an inventory which is huge in number, it is bound to happen that some of the fixtures may not work correctly, some of the shutters may get stuck. At such times, if you have a massive truss rig, you cannot have a person climbing up all the way and changing fixtures. Somehow, I think the RDM technology hasn't been implemented in India, and I feel the reason why is because the 5 pins are quite expensive to buy. But the newer set of lights, if I'm not wrong, Robi has got a 2-3 pin, which also allows you, which are RDM compatible. Sorry. So it's really a great sort of a technology which is available in the country, in the world right now, and I feel we as designers or vendors need to imply that soon, because it's just going to save a lot of time for everybody. Currently, if we look at any events, we start like 2 or 3 days before setup, and most of the times things are still not correct. So this sort of eradicates a lot of things from lighting designers or even from vendors, because everything is pre-decided, all the addressing comes beforehand. So I think the usage of RDM technology is what I would say, especially in India right now, is absolutely critical, and I think everyone needs to start implementing that. So you want to add something?
Yeah, I would like to add to it. I have been trying to sell RDM technology for a long time, wireless DMX and RDM technology. Yes, I do represent a company which is a world leader in it, Lumen Radio. And interestingly now, we have not only RDM and wireless DMX, but we have compatibility with Bluetooth as well as Wi-Fi. So again, the technologies are getting higher and higher. And the only resistance is our own to use that, because whether it's a VIP setup where there can be blockage of signals, yes. But besides that, every single application, you could use it. And I'm going to quote something from the past year where, if anybody remembers when we bought a computer with a modem once upon a time, and when you actually bought that, they would ask you whether you want a modem along with it for internet. It soon became a card on the computer itself, and that time you'd be asked whether you want the PCB with it. And then it became a chip. There's no longer, nobody now buys a computer without Wi-Fi or internet access. The same is happening with lighting from a long time. It's just the implementation is not as required. But otherwise, the technology is existing. Every single light, any make does, any brand has RDM and wireless DMX as standard. And there's no longer a question of whether you want it or not. It should come standard on it.
So, and can I ask you, why do you think it's not been implemented, especially in the live entertainment space right now?
I think it's purely a shift of a mindset more than anything else. Yes, there can be some VIP events where then when the signals are blocked, yes. So the trust factor. And I think it's a question of trusting the technology, using it, and then a simple example I give nowadays is in post-pandemic, you did not do a high-value sales online. But when pandemic came, we did online sales. So it's a question of a situation which arises. And yes, if you have a very big rig, as Naveen rightly pointed out, you cannot have somebody go check a light or whatever. And RDM allows you, it's a two-way signal. So it allows you to ask and get a signal back, knowing what exactly is happening.
Yeah, that's true. Now, one thing I want to tell you, because last so many years we are using only the conventional thing. We'll switch over to more intelligent lights. But after trying to learn some new consoles like MA and because I understand one thing is nowadays, everything we can control very easy in the sense means not only for the lights, even everything, like even stage that you know very well because sound whatever you want. But I'm very much happy about hearing some new technology because nowadays the people want to learn something like that. But just as you told about that thing like about cloud kind of thing, like in that iPhone we used to the cloud kind of thing. It's possible to all machines like all control machine. Then I hope we can control something easy to everywhere. Sometimes that some studios like a TV studio they used to do the setup, the same setup. If when we want to change it, suppose it is happening somewhere. If I'm in here or somewhere, then how to apply my new design or something. This kind of facility will be there. It is easy to work. I feel like that that MA have that one thing is called that MBR kind of facility.
Can you say that again, please? What?
MBR, yeah. That kind of thing, then we can work like that. That means technology is going more up because there is always like that. I can't predict what will happen after some time because I started with that small consoles, but now we are in a very different level. After some time, like maybe we can't predict now. Yeah, that's my.
Okay, so to basically sum up, I think what Rashesh is saying is that the technology exists, but we prefer to work, we prefer to sweat, and we are not using the technology and the convenience to do better shows. So then, of course, the question is, why? Is it just that we're lazy, or is it just that the client is not demanding of us, or is it just that the economics are not working? Why is it that if the technology exists and is proven, we're not using it in India yet?
I'll start off with two parts of it. First is the education, which plays a very important role. If the information is out there and the end user knows it, how it can save time, money, and of course stress, I think the adaptation happens at that point. If you leave it to just a business owner, it may not make sense because if it ain't broke, why fix it? And that's the reason of not adapting to it. Also, the notion is that, yes, you have to, with every new technology, you have to spend the money. And unless and until that is invested, you're not going to get a return out of it. So it's like a negative cycle that we are in. And in order to break out of that, I think education, as I pointed out first, when people are aware of it and they start using it, I think that should take a step forward.
Srikanth, you have something to say?
Yeah, same thing. So I feel like that, without education is not possible. One thing, now people started to learning through online and offline for the vendors like that manufacturers, so directly manufacturers. But actually, we need a platform to learn this kind of thing.
And you're providing it, right?
That's what I'm providing.
Good, good. So we'll have some nice, accomplished people you can bring next year.
Yeah, I hope.
Okay, Naveen?
I feel it's also doing that first move and then people following you is what is needed. Good. Everyone's a little scared to try stuff and test things out. But as Rasi sir said, especially with the RDM stuff, which I was talking about earlier, every light, every fixture nowadays is RDM compliant, and even the consoles come up with all that information. So, I mean, I have also recently discovered it, and in my next move, this is something I'm definitely implying and trying to bring that into the system as well, so everybody in the industry starts following that as well.
So you have an incredible advantage because you are managing the artists, right?
Not anymore, but I still have an upper hand because the design aspect is still in my hands.
Great. See, because the point I'm coming to is, and this is one of my biggest issues with the event industry in India, is that we don't have venues, right? And because you don't have venues purpose-built, what happens is that half your budget goes into creating the venue. And then because of the pressure on budgets, obviously all the technology that you want to put into the build gets truncated, saying that, listen, there's nothing left over. So if that's true, and that's a big if that's true, and you've done so many festivals, so you know that, because a lot of the festivals are in just open ground, right? So what is the kind of technology that you would like all events, event venues, which includes places like this, which includes hotel ballrooms, which retrofits into some kind of theater spaces, and if you're going into the open air, some kind of ready-made packages which you can basically put into place as one unit that then you can build on all these technologies on.
I think what's going to ease off to, say, a traveling LD who's coming to do a festival. So we become the house LDs and they're traveling LDs, right? As I was saying earlier as well, a full thorough paperwork, which is including sending the right fixture files, including sending the right patching, the universe information, stuff like that. And this is something, again, I haven't done that. I just got experience by working.
Naveen, I completely agree, and we'll come back to this. Okay. Sure. I'm now talking about technology that you need to install into venues to make it easier for them to adopt RDM and whatever else you want to install.
Yes.
But I mean, what you're saying is interesting. We'll come back to that.
I think the venues, the lies in the infrastructure part of it, as I understand it correctly. And again, when a venue is made for multi-purpose, you need to house all possible scenarios and create the infrastructure, which we've been...
See, from what I'm seeing is that the technology, when you're talking about a multi-purpose venue, now, I mean, even look at this conference, okay? Now, this conference is using more technology than a top-end theater would be using perhaps 10 years ago, right? So what I'm talking about is that kind of technology with some kind of internet or some kind of intranet that comes easy, that allows touring LDs, house LDs, etc., to build their shows on.
Right. So again, I'll come back to it. When the facility is created in the first place, we work with architects for ballrooms, for a lot of large venues, where we say that there may not be a budget to put in everything that you need, but at least lay the groundwork for the network for it. And that is being implemented, whether it's a DMX node, whether it's Wi-Fi, whatever it will take to enable the other technology to kind of marry them into it.
Piggyback onto it.
Exactly. So the infrastructure exists. The question is, what are you're going to use along with, instead of cables trailing, sound systems which are in place, at least for a certain level of performance.
Srikanth, you work in a lot of theaters.
Yeah.
How do you believe that you can break through this with theater management?
Yeah, actually, what happened still, we used to use only the proscenium kind of stage. We never go to beyond that. Actually, our LD should know about the stage geography, is my perspective. Why I'm saying then, usually it's easy to do for a proscenium stage because a lot of lighting, bars and truss or whatever we have. If you are going to kind of that arena kind of space or truss kind of space or even open air, we have to struggle that thing because that means in the LD should know about the space or they have to know about the venue. If we can pre-plan like that, if you have some software like that, Vectorworks kind of thing is available now. That way we can do it. But I feel still we are in that, in kind of the scale is very small.
So Naveen, tell me, when you build these huge stages, okay, do the set guys and do the stage guys, and this is the pointed question because I've had many quarrels with them over the years, do they actually build as per spec that is given to them?
So we do that actually on the system. We take the stage size, what they have in mind, and we put it on the software which we use. We are using Vectorworks.
But do they build it to that spec?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
that's
so
excellent.
far, yeah, we've achieved.
Excellent.
100% efficiency in terms of not just the lighting plot, but also the elements around the stage, whether it's the LED wall. It's been quite accurate, actually.
Okay, that's excellent. Rashesh, you have something to say?
Yeah, I think that was a very, because I think when we go back in time, there was a big grouse that it's never exactly what we want.
Well, I have lots
And
of stories which I don't have time for to go into today. But, okay. Now, a question that I have and that Rashesh spoke about just now a little bit was that one of the barriers to go Wi-Fi was VIP, okay? Is there a technology that exists that allows you to create your own internet within the room, that intranet perhaps, or boxnet if you call, which allows you to step onto a certain protocol that does not interface with the world outside?
I'm sure there is technology there, but it falls in probably in the same spectrum. And anything that can trigger an IED device will not be allowed. So a jammer will go across a large spectrum. So yes, I'm sure the technology exists.
Okay, Srikanth, your experience?
Yeah. I'm not sure about what is going to happening after 2 years, because till now we are working with this kind of artificial intelligence. Maybe it can work.
So when you say artificial intelligence, okay, now I'm a little wary of the word automated lighting, okay, because for me, I think that's not really correct. Automated lighting means it becomes automatic, but it's not really automatic, right? We're sending it some signal, and like a good boy, I hope the light does what we tell it to do, right? So when you're talking about intelligent lighting now, or artificial intelligence now, what do you think the light or the control system should do separately from the operator or the designer's intelligence?
Everything comes from our mind only.
So then it's not artificial intelligence, it's natural intelligence. Right?
Yeah.
Naveen, you have something to say?
Not on AI, no. Not a great expert on that, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm going to add to it. We're just scratching the surface here. When I propose saying that next step, looking into the future is AI, we're talking about a user interface. So let's say it's Naveen and he signs in as Naveen. He has to sign in as an ID, right? It now remembers what Naveen does every time around and makes it easier for him. Also, it could be that you've done this 10 times. Would you like to try something else? I mean, I'm not sure whether Naveen would accept that or would be annoyed with it. But the fact is, it knows Naveen, it knows how he works, and it makes it easier for him. That's the console side, probably. Similarly, lighting manufacturers could also look at it, and which they're doing currently in the conventional form, where they go and talk to LDs, and they will ask them that, what do you want to see in a light? And that's how a BMFL from Robe, or any other brand for that matter, the lights are made around the people and their applications, not just because they think it's a good light that will sell more.
So you see that at some point in the future,
yes,
like computers are beating everybody in chess and these kind of board games, you think at some point in the future there'll be a console that the artist can talk to and say, listen, we don't want these human people like sitting over here and pressing buttons, but now you do a show for me.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's very pleasing to know.
No, because when it comes to creativity, there is no replacement. No matter, it can learn a lot, but to come up with a brand new creative, I think
so it will become repetitive shows.
Repetitive or other.
Like most of my lighting designer competitors. No, that's a joke. That's a joke.
I just want to jump on your previous question about working on Wi-Fi, and you were asking, is there any existing technology?
Yeah.
I did come across this recently, where one of my artists, Pratik Kuhad, was playing at the NH7 weekend, and I wasn't around. I was in the UK. So, but he was wary of having any other lighting designer to operate this show. So I got into this mode of finding out a solution of how I can operate this show remotely while I was sitting in the UK. So I did a couple of test runs. I did a test run between Bombay and Goa. And all we did was we simply ran the same show file on both the systems. And through Microsoft TeamViewer, I was able to view the other show file and I could operate it easily. Now, barely any latency issues on that, so it worked fine. But I was advised as soon as I change continents, the internet and the latency will start dropping. And that did happen. So my UK alliance, those guys recommended me this unit called the Bridge, which is basically creating a private VPN, and it's only for those existing systems which are two or more which can work on that system. So it seems even on the MA forums and a couple of other places, that seems to be the most working sort of a device which is currently super hot in the space of remote operations. And I think MA also had created something for something similar, which was a private VPN for a festival called Tomorrowland, which is where one guy was operating it, but the same time and the same day, 7 festivals across 7 different countries were happening. So it did happen in India as well. And if I'm not wrong, the console was patched, and you could see the faders moving it automatically, but there was no guy behind it, you know. So I think they managed to successfully do that as well.
That's amazing, really, really amazing. And congratulations to everybody who's designed that. Really, my hat's off to the engineers. Okay, I'd like to move on to the next section, if we're done with technology. Anybody else? Which is now to talk about the design, okay? Because I believe that technology comes second. As Rashesh just said, the human factor. I believe, and I would like to believe, that the human design idea comes first, all right? So now I would like to talk about how all your design ideas have grown along with the growth of this technology, okay? So give me some ideas on what you would not do earlier simply because you didn't have the technology, but you're now willing to venture into now because you have the technology. Shrikant, you want to start?
Yeah, that is very interesting because whenever we are applying technology, it is supported to the artist, because I'm working for this stage performers. Our role is supporting always the artist. I meant that we have to learn something. We have to collaborate, or you should learn something from them. Like that, we know the art form. Then only we can create new design. Then only we can apply new technology.
Something I didn't do before was any sort of paperwork. Sorry, I keep coming back to that, but that's a big lesson for me as a lighting designer in this year. And the usage of any pre-visualization software, even MA3D to that extent, is absolutely beautiful. And I totally advise everyone to dive into it and go prepared. And that's something I'm actually focusing on. So making sure that every show is actually pre-visualized rather than landing up on site and then figuring out what you need to do is something I've been doing lately.
Okay, so Naveen, me and Rashesh are going to call you over to meet our kids and teach them the benefits of doing their homework.
Sure.
Sorry, Rashesh?
I'd like to add to this. Yes, visualization software is a most simple and most necessary investment that everybody should make. He's using another system. I do sell another system called Capture. Over the period of time, it has become very economical to get one of those and has everything that you need on it. So even when it comes to events planning, I think this is a must and a part of education as well as what you could use. Having said that, besides that, knowing your products, having understanding them, there are a lot of good technologies out there, but I don't see them being used to a maximum level or what it's capable of. As you pointed out, that could you give me an example of something that I could not do earlier and now I can do? The example I would like to give is an Air India building, which there was a picture earlier.
Say that again, please.
The Air India building picture that was earlier there.
Right. Sorry.
And the brief that showed a cloud being lit was actually a campaign for Microsoft Cloud Power. And the ability to deliver to light up a cloud for Microsoft was a big high, but would not have happened unless and until you have a sky tracker on top of a roof and you're able to communicate from ground. That is because of wireless DMX and RDM technology. So there are a lot of technologies which are now enabling you to do much more than ever before. In terms of projection, you saw an image of a runner. This is for the Mumbai Marathon. I've been using projectors which most of people are not aware probably. These are slide projectors called Pani projectors from Vienna. Now, that technology was a slide technology, and now with the new technology with video projectors, we can do complete dynamic projection. So each jump, whether it's projection, whether it's communication, whether it's planning, and even now I would say, for example, look at LEDs. It has gone from a quarter watt to now full-fledged moving heads with transferable light engines. That means we're going into a quantum jump as we go along. The only thing that is stopping us is our use of it, our ability to accept the technology and use it to the maximum.
Okay, I have a bunch of questions. Today, if you're a software user of any kind of software, including Excel, okay, and if you're going to be doing something for Excel, which Excel doesn't do automatically, you can go to a third party or perhaps to Microsoft and say, listen, Excel is great, it's done 80% of my job, but this last 20% it's not doing, okay? And then Excel or the third party will build something into Excel that will, or build a routine, because obviously Microsoft is not going to give you source code. That will then allow you to do something that normal Excel doesn't do, right? Have you come across this kind of challenge in your lighting world? And have you sort of tweaked a lighting design software to do something that the original software doesn't do?
No, I don't think so. In fact, just as an extension from the pre-visualization software, now you can actually import your patch as well from the pre-visualization software. So half of your work is already done. The vendors don't need to worry about the addressing, all of that. So I don't think I have touched any software per se to modify that. And I mean, most of them are like quite well achieved and in terms of the technology they're using. So I don't think I've touched anything.
Okay. Shrikant, you have something?
Yeah, same.
Yeah, again, I'm going to add to this. Yes, we've come across a large number of situations where there were inputs from our side. We, as a trading company which talks to a lot of designers who, we have to sell the technology, and we come back with somebody who says that, can you do this? So this is what we take back to the manufacturer saying, like, this is a demand for it. Now, it's always a question of what is the investment to get that thing done? And over the periods, I think we are a beta testing center for a lot of these new technologies. Personally, I have come across, and I think this is the year where we are looking at it, where we've realized that there is a gap in a lot of things that are required, not just in terms of 80% and then 20% add, but there could be a whole new way of doing something. And perhaps you would see that from our company coming out as our own app or whatever else.
That's amazing, because there's one certain gentleman sitting over here smiling away.
I can see
But
him
I'd
there.
gone to his company some time ago and asked him, like, listen, your board doesn't do this, but Avolites does. And he says, okay, here, go write it and do it yourself. And this was for Shape Generation for the old Regia, if you remember, Franco. And I'm quite amazed that this was available 20 years ago, where we could write our own software or make our little tweaks to our own software that was built into a board. And of course, this community is so small that in the old days, we could actually phone the guys and tell them, listen, your board isn't doing this, so help. And literally, this is in the days when email and internet were just starting. And in those days, within a couple of hours, we'd get some kind of fixes that would like tweak colors perhaps or something. And I'm really perturbed to know that that culture, okay, just doesn't exist anymore. I'm really sad to know that.
Well, we have something called the macros, which is like a sort of a software language which lighting designers write, and that's part of the MA technology, and it just eases off a lot of your pre-build-up stuff. So, I mean, if you consider that as a software language, yes, that's one of the things which is integrated in the system.
Okay, that's great. So, therefore, that leads into the next section, that when software or when automated lighting is being updated, what do you think? Is it that the engineers are talking to the designers and say, listen, what do you want to do so that we can now build it, some kind of functionality that will allow you to do it? Or is it the other way around, where the engineer is playing in the studio, he comes up with some kind of routine, and then he sends it to his lighting designer and say, listen, I've figured this out. Do you think you can use this in your shows?
Yeah, I think it's more from the feedback given by lighting designers to the companies, and that's how it's been all this while. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's people-centric. Sorry, Shrikant. it's people-centric. And I think most of the companies that have their ears to the ground where they know what the designer wants, and that's how it's. So it's a two-way process, nonetheless. I'll give you an example, not only in software, even in hardware. I have an example from a company that I'm dealing with, so bear with me on that. Matrix is a wonderful lighting software for LEDs, LED control, but did not have a playback unit which would allow me to remove the interface of the human interface and the computer after the programming was done. When you're talking about large-scale fixed installations, for example, a bridge lighting, there's not going to be a user sitting there doing that. They listen to us, they've built it, and they've built this software that would accompany with it as well. So yes, very much.
Yeah, the same thing Ashish told about that. It's kind of the collaboration work. Yeah.
Have you collaborated with any kind of technology guy to create a new kind of routine for your equipment?
Of course, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about it, please?
No, now we are planning to do one architecture lighting. That time they wanted to use like a time codes kind of thing. That time we need to collaborate with this kind of people.
Okay. So, who comes first, technology or art?
Art.
And I think now it's interchangeable in terms of like art imitates life, life imitates art. So technology is also very much part of the ability to create what the artist has thought.
Both hand in hand, I would say. Sorry.
No?
So technology for art.
I like to kick the technology boys' ass. But what the hell? Okay, now I'm going to take a leap off, all right? This is full disclaimer. All of these are picked off the net, okay? There's certainly nothing to do with any of the shows that we have done. Wherever possible, I've tried to credit the shows. Have a look at the photograph. You guys have seen it, of course. Have a look at the photographs. These are the images that excite me about the future of lighting, okay? So let's just scroll through it. Let's just see what I think is the future of lighting, what it's going to look like. And if you guys want to stop and, just talk about it or think about it or, share some experience that you've had with something like it, let's just really take a leap into the future. Again, full disclaimer, this is not our work, this is off the net, but we have credited it, and I can assure you, whatever we have to say is complimentary, so I hope you guys accept that. Okay, this is what I believe is going to really change the shape of lighting in the future, and that is bendable LED or OLED panels, right? I think that once this is possible and we break away from the flatness of everything on stage, we can really explore the 3D-ness of light, okay? Anybody wants to say something? Okay. This was pioneered by GE. For some reason, the credit doesn't show through. This was pioneered by GE, but of course, everybody in the world, Philips, of course, a lot of Chinese companies are stepping into this world. There it is. Okay? Now, this is something I believe, the previous session was talking about the incredible historical monuments that are available in this country that really are languishing and I believe really should be put forward both as a tourist venture as well as just getting pride in our future, in our past. I'm starting with, this is the Washington Monument. It's just a stone tower, okay? Badly lit, but now has been picked up by the US Park Service and Musco Lighting, and they're redesigning the whole thing so that it just doesn't stand as a tower that is lit in the night, but it becomes a source of lighting and a source of power in the night. So this is the work that's being installed. This is work that's been carrying on. This is what the tower looked like. And everybody in the US was wondering, what the hell are these guys new technology boys changing the whole face of it. And this is what it's looking like today. I wish this PPT clicker would do what it's supposed to do. There you go. So on the side, you can see that it was lit in the past. It was very clearly patchy lighting, and there was just some light that was thrown up. And as you can see, there's a lot of lighting pollution in the air around it, which basically makes the tower go away. And if you see the monolith on top, or the obelisk as it's called, the sloping top is kind of lost, which is now come up. And as you can see, it's a source of lighting, which makes a huge difference. And if you think that this is available only in the US, then guess what? This is what the Qutub used to look like, and this is what the Qutub is looking like today. So while this is amazingly, because this is not a chance where America is doing something and India is copying it, but this shows that India resurgent, India shining, when India is doing something simultaneously. Okay? The next project is a project that was close to me. Most bridges in India are concrete and cement. All right? Most bridges in the US are metal. And I believe give far more opportunity for them to be lit beautifully. So if you ask me, this kind of metal light look is far more industrial and has its own beauty. This is a 15-year-old project. Very, very, very proud to say that it was designed by a protege of mine who used to work with me and then told me to buzz off and look for a brighter future in the US, and this was his bright future. And this is a close-up of the bridge where, if you see it, it's almost like glass, right? And this is what when you're talking about, why are you talking about the past when you're talking about the future? Because I believe that lighting can change the whole look of something and make it something completely different. Everybody knows malls are lit up at Christmas time or at festival time, and we're kind of so bored with it, we don't even look at it anymore. But with these new LED boxes, which can be controlled with all the wonderful technology that we spoke about, it just adds a new dimension to everything, grabs people's attention, and it just brings the whole excitement into a festive season. Again, like I'm saying, I've tried to credit the location and the group. This is all the information that I could get off the net. And so I hope you feel happy that your work is showcased here and nobody has any objections. This is wonderful. This is something that you were talking about, pixels. You're covering the whole mall with pixels, and then practically the whole face of the building can become a billboard or some kind of a signage.
This kind of stuff is quite big in the Dubai market, actually. Every
Right.
building has a lot of content, text coming out. And I
Right.
think as a culture in the city, and to push lighting as an art, they've been doing that quite a bit. In fact, they've been asking like different designers to come and give ideas to like light up different buildings and stuff. So yeah.
Which brings me perfectly to this. Can you judge what this is? Can anybody here judge what this is? Same installation. Can we just... Yeah, this is the same installation during the day. It just looks like a bunch of street lights, right? But here's what it is. Isn't that marvelous? Right?
Yeah.
So just gives you an idea of what you can do with light. There's no technology here, there is no automation here, there's no nothing, but it's just the magic of light that you can explore in so many ways. This is something that I think is really fantastic, all right? This is called lighting sculpture. This looks photographic, but it's not. There's a whole museum in Hamburg that's been set up for this. Dubai, as you mentioned again, has adopted this in one of the malls, but that's the only public space that I've seen it in. And there are so many public spaces in India that are not really used to their best value, including a lot of our old monuments. And I think that this kind of slight fantasy and this kind of light and this kind of mythology can be seriously expressed and brought out. Listen again, please jump in if anybody wants to say anything, okay?
I have a question about the Kutub project, but I'll finish.
Yeah,
let
sure.
you finish this.
This is the same installation, just seen from a different perspective. That this is what I genuinely believe is immersive lighting. We've heard that word in the theater a lot, but this is genuinely immersive lighting, which is really surrounding you all over and giving you the kind of effect that you just saw. Again, this is the Digital Art Museum that creates these fantasy worlds. This is in the museum just now, but this could be very easily implementable in any kind of public space. This is, there is a stall over there. Let's see. There is a stall over there that's showing 4D. This is what the 4D, digital light is. You can walk through it again in the exhibition. This is called Crystal World. In a little while, we've got a little video clip of it as well. This we've seen before. It's basically an LED, this is the conjunction between LED wall and video projection, and just creates a completely dynamic atmosphere into any kind of space you can walk into. You can change the look of the mall every week if you like. Again, the Crystal World, as you can see, incredibly immersive experience. You can walk through it, you can touch it, and you can just become a part of the whole project. This is another thing I love. This is, I believe, is the future of performance art. Maybe not theater, but when you actually have light and video interfacing with an artist. Another example of interactive art. This is obviously some aerial work. This is not video, but this is lighting waves. This is a store. I mean, isn't it spectacular? Even if you're in the busiest store of the street, you're going to be heading there, right? Whether you're a 6-year-old kid or whether you're a 60-year-old Buddha, you're going to be attracted into that store. And basically, what is it? It's just LED stream. Again, this is actually from a winery that sets this up in the night just to get some attraction. So the idea I'm trying to say over here is that we're breaking out of just performance spaces and are using all the technology and the learning of performance spaces into bringing it into the public. Here, this is another, I don't know whether you can see it at the distance, but it's just a field of little light balls, obviously with LED inside, obviously that can be color coordinated, and we just have our own wildflower hall of flower. Not a good idea perhaps, but we can do it if we want to. Again, this is from a city square, immersive, just something to bring the kids out, just something to get them away from their screens and just go out there and experience the outdoors in the 21st century. Now, this is what I think the future of rock concerts are going to be, right? Amazingly, I don't know whether anybody knows, but the first rock concert to use moving lights was Genesis, right? They were the first ones to have lights that, as they call, wiggled. And this is their farewell tour, where the entire rig, okay, so forget about the lights moving, the entire rig is moving. Unfortunately, the concert is not out on video. I was lucky enough to see it, so I've not been able to get a film of it. But if you can see the angle of the entire rig, so it's not just automated lighting, but it's automated rigs now, where the rigs are moving around. Like, look at this. This is not video. This, in the space where the roof was down. Why is this not? Can we go back, please? It's not going. Can we go back, please, one? See, in the space where you've got these lighting rigs that are moving up and down, they just lifted off, and suddenly we've got these LED panels come down. Correct? So over here, it's the entire rig is automated, which I think is just spectacular. And this is a confluence of that technology, where the entire top is lifted out and suddenly the whole back turns around and it actually becomes lights, not just the LED screen. There you go. That's another view of the stage without the LED drop and without the backdrop. This is, I don't know what everybody's reaction is going to be, but actually this show premieres tonight. It's the world premiere tonight in London. This is the ABBA holographic show. I don't know whether anybody has heard about it. I'm very excited to know what the reaction is. This is a purpose-built venue. We were talking about that a little earlier today. And within this permanent exhibition, you will have some kind of hologram of the old ABBA band performing their hits, right? If it's successful, the exact same thing can travel anywhere in the world and be set up perhaps in a couple of weeks. This is a sneak preview of the set. I have no idea what it's going to look like live. I can't wait to go out and see it. But, I mean, this is your future, right? You don't need an artist. We were talking about not using a lighting designer. This now talks about not using the artist as well. Okay? So, having seen all these clips, you guys have anything to say about it, add to it?
Yeah, I agree to the fact of using motion control winch motors, and that's something we've been trying for quite a while. But just to add to this, it's quite an expensive affair to rent out these winch motors. Not just the cost-wise, but also like load-wise, it's quite a tricky one. But yeah, I think you're right. The future is with the winch motors. Yeah.
Okay, Srikanth, anything to wrap up?
Yeah. Something like this. I'm thinking why we are not thinking about like this. No, we have to start thinking. Whenever
Don't
we are
think
looking,
about it, Baba. You have to start doing it now.
Yeah, we should.
Rashesh?
I would like to thank you, Vera, for this wonderful journey of different lights. Somebody who is literally born into the light. I was born on the Diwali day. So for me, light is life. And all these images show me what the various possibilities are without very extensive technology either. It's pure creativity from all different angles. Thank you.
Yeah, it's tomorrow. It's not next year.
Yeah.
I
Thank
agree,
you.
and it's a great starting point for us to do more than lighting up a Bombay Bandra bridge. You know?
Exactly. Okay, thank you very much. If there are any questions from the audience, no, we've been told to. Thank you very much.
And I think you can reach out to the panelists once the session is over in case you have any questions. There is so much to speak at so less time, so I will just felicitate you so that we all can go about our businesses. Can we have the founding director of Palm Expo, Mr. Anil Chopra, to felicitate our panelists, please? Thank you everyone for joining us. We will gather back for tomorrow's last day of the seminar. Thank you.